Welcome to Revenue Boost, a marketing podcast, the ultimate resource for business leaders who need a boost in their revenue and business growth. I'm your host, Carrie Curran, and with over 20 years of marketing agency experience driving client business growth, I now run RBMA, Revenue-Based Marketing Advisors, where we help businesses like yours effectively scale revenue growth. Visit revenuebasedmarketing.com or connect with me on LinkedIn. Today we have a special episode called Maximizing Revenue with the latest trends and insights from the Performance Marketing Association's annual survey with my special guest, Tricia Meyer, the Executive Director of the PMA. In this episode, Tricia and I discuss the latest findings from the PMA's annual survey, which includes data from over 300 affiliate programs based in the US. We cover key updates on platform usage, publisher diversification, and the continued popularity of coupons, cashback, and toolbars, along with the growing influence of creator and influencer programs. Tricia also highlights the strong connection between program maturity and annual revenue growth. So whether you're a seasoned affiliate marketing professional or considering adding it to your marketing mix, this is an episode you won't want to miss. So welcome, Tricia. Please introduce yourself and tell us a bit about your background and expertise.
Thank you so much. My name is Tricia Meyer. I'm the Executive Director of the Performance Marketing Association. By trade, I am an attorney, but I started doing affiliate marketing over 20 years ago. So with the PMA, I've kind of had a unique opportunity to bring together my legal background as well as all the affiliate marketing that I've done and kind of ride a center line between those two things.
Great. And so for those listening that aren't familiar with the PMA, explain to us what's the value and what does the PMA help brand marketers with?
So the Performance Marketing Association is the only worldwide nonprofit industry association for all of performance marketing, affiliate marketing. So not only are we doing things for affiliate marketing itself, trying to help the people within affiliate marketing, we're helping people outside of affiliate marketing understand what it is and who we are. So we do a lot of education. We do white papers. We do webinars. We also do advocacy whenever there are laws that are threatening the industry, whether it's tax laws, data privacy laws, things like that. We work a lot with consumer protection as well with the FTC in terms of making sure that what we're doing as an industry complies with the consumer protection laws. And then it's also just a really great place for everybody as an industry to get together and trade information and to try to kind of help each other to grow the whole industry.
Excellent. Thank you, Tricia. I know I've gotten a ton of value out of being part of the PMA, and I've really learned so much and met so many people. So thank you. So one of the many great things that comes out of the PMA is your annual research. So talk a bit about your research and the goal of the output.
So we do a few different types of surveys. We do an industry-wide survey that we do every 3 years, and that's kind of a sizing thing. So that is taking actual network data that's given to PricewaterhouseCoopers that's all combined on a secured server. So that's taking actual financials from these companies, combining all of them and saying, how big is affiliate marketing in the United States? So that every 3 years is really important because it gives us just kind of a broad idea of the contribution that affiliate marketing is making to e-commerce in general. So that's for us to be able to have a lot of internal numbers, to be able to look at different verticals, different niches and things like that. But it's also for people outside the industry that are just wondering, they're wondering what are the biggest types of cashback? What are the types of retailers that are doing best in performance marketing? So they can kind of look in and say, yes, this is a place that we want to put our money. So we do that every 3 years, and we'll be doing that again in January. And then in the off years, we take kind of smaller surveys where we look at things that are just a little bit more specific to the industry. So in this case, we wanted to take some of the same characteristics that we have of that big survey. So we wanted to look at things like retailer verticals, publisher verticals, and things like that, but look at it almost more from an affiliate program management standpoint. So this survey was specifically for retailers who have affiliate programs in the United States. So we had over 300 responses that were from retailers with US affiliate programs. And I think that in the end, the data that we received, it's going to be most helpful to those retailers and the agencies that manage those programs. It's also going to be useful to retailers that do not yet have affiliate programs to take a look at some of these numbers to help them justify why they should be looking into affiliate more.
Excellent. No, and I know there's so much data that really demonstrates the value for brands and connecting with the broader audience and really driving that revenue growth. So let's dive into the findings. And the first category was platform usage. What did the data find as far as platform usage by brands and marketers?
You know, what we thought was that we were going to see a lot of programs that have the retailers that have their programs on a lot of different networks, at least two networks. But in the end, we found that 91% of retailers are only on one platform or network. And we're using this platform and network technology kind of thing put together because, you know, different people call it different things. It might be a network that you're working with where they're helping you recruit your affiliates. It's a little bit more robust, or it might just be a type of tracking solution where you're just using a piece of software that's helping you track. So we kind of combine those down to say, you know, are you doing this in-house on some tracking software, and are you doing this in a network, or are you just doing it one or the other? So the fact that 91% of programs are only on one is actually really good from a financial standpoint for the retailers, because it means you don't have to be going out and looking around and saying it's going to cost X amount here and X amount there. You really can just focus on the one network or platform that seems best suited for your particular retailer needs.
And so that would be streamlining with like an Impact, a CJ,
Yes,
AWIN. I know there
absolutely.
some of the partnerized tend to be the larger ones, but as well as some of the more nimble, smaller partners as well. That's really interesting. And so why do you think they're really just narrowing down? They're finding everything they need. The platforms have gotten more sophisticated with meeting all of their needs, perhaps?
I think so. And I think the platforms are responsive to the retailers and what they're asking for. So if you go to them and you're on that platform and they're not doing something that somebody comes to you and says a different platform is doing, and you go to them and say, well, is there a chance you can do this? Most of the time their tech department say, absolutely, we can do that. And, you know, you mentioned some of them that we did have reported in this survey, and the overall findings of this over 300 brands that we were asking for responses from was, I think there were around 10 different networks and platforms that were listed that these programs were on. So overall, we found that the data that we did collect was pretty nicely spread across some of those really big ones that tend to kind of dominate the industry, but also some of the smaller solutions, either that are, you know, just been in the industry a long time or that are kind of starting to pick up more momentum as well.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I think the opportunity to streamline data and platform fees is definitely
Yes.
a huge benefit. So talk a bit about your findings around the program size and publishers, and kind of how are advertisers, how many publishers do they tend to work with? What were your findings there?
So this was the part of it that to me as the publisher was the most interesting. And I'm really interested now that agencies have had a chance to download this information and just kind of start comparing it to their own programs, to start hearing from everyone how this compares to what they're doing and what they think about that. Because for me as a publisher, seeing that, I think it was almost half of the programs have 500 or more publishers that are approved in their programs. So that's quite a few. That's a lot of, you know, no matter what platform that you're on, 500 or more publishers is a lot. But once we started breaking that down and asking them, how many click active do you have in the last 12 months? So how many of these publishers actually have generated at least one click to you as a retailer in this last 12 months, the numbers dropped off significantly. Like of that group of 500, it dropped down to like a third of the total publishers. So we already had a big drop off just in seeing how many are click active. And it seemed like there were kind of some sweet spots in there. And, not as a program manager, I don't know what I would do with this information, but I know looking at it and seeing that there are kind of some sweet spots around this 100 publisher mark. And I don't know if that means, that is ideally from a streamlined economic standpoint, having around 100 is the way to go, or if it just means that you have to have other strategies. When you have more than 100 in a program, you've got to do things differently, because we did still see success in those big programs. So we went further beyond the click and we said, how many are sale active? And again, for me as a publisher, I'm thinking, oh, these programs have to have, hundreds of affiliates that are generating revenue for them, because I know the types of millions of dollars in sales these retailers are getting out of affiliates. But really what it turned out was that the majority were like less than 100, less than 50. So even over the course of an entire year, how many sale active publishers they had, it was much, much lower, even if they had, 500 approved publishers in the program. So, I think there's definitely information in here for retailers kind of to take a look at, whoever's managing their programs, to take a look at what they're doing, take a look at these averages that we found, and see what that means for them as a program.
Right. Because it sounds like there's a lot of opportunity for either optimizing, to your point of, if those additional 400 publishers, for example, could be driving revenue or sales, then how do you re-engage them and get your updated content out, or product details out to them? But if they're not, then what are the next steps to streamline and remove them from your program, so that you really can hone in and build relationships with those 50 to 100 that are driving sales. So it sounds like, to your point, that the action item here is to take a look at that list and figure out, if they're not going to be active from a sales perspective, maybe you need to remove them from your program.
And why aren't, they sale active? And that's something that obviously the data doesn't show us, but that's something that's starting those conversations with these publishers and saying, look, only 8% of you in our program have had a sale in the last year. Is this just because you're struggling with traffic, or is it because we're not giving you something that another program is? Because we did see programs that responded that they have over 500 sale active publishers. Over 500 sale active publishers compared to some that only have 20, so some of that's going to be based on brand name. If they're just a big brand retailer, that it's easy to promote them because everybody already knows what they are, versus a small one. Some of it's going to be just the range of products. The more products that you have, maybe the more sales you're having. So they're obviously going to be variables, but you have to look at these numbers and say, there is potential. There is absolutely potential to have a program with over 500 sale active publishers in it.
Yeah, no, that's right. I mean, that's just going to increase your reach to a broader audience and hopefully benefit your program. But to your point too, it's like diving more deeply into the analytics. Are they click active but not driving sales? That's a whole other way to evaluate the value to the program. Or are they just not engaged at all? So definitely a point for all advertisers to think about. Another key finding was, or questions that you had in there in your analysis, was about program maturity and how it's grown over years. So talk about the findings from that perspective.
This was a really interesting one, because the way that we did this survey was that I was the only one, for confidentiality purposes, that was able to see all of the data. And so I, kind of compiled all the key data points, took it back to the PMA's Measurements and Insights Council, who are all kind of data experts, and showed them these high level things. And when they saw these numbers of approved publishers, click active and sale active, they came back to me and said, is there any way you can slice and dice this data a little bit more to show us over time what those numbers would look like, and see if it kind of is flat, or if there's a difference in them? So I went back in and I took our question where we asked how long the program had been launched, and this was broken down into before 2010, 2011 to 2019, and 2020 or later. So we're not even talking about, programs that are only a year old and haven't really had a chance to mature. We're talking about programs that are, at least 4 years old at this point, up to 14, 15 years old. And when we compared it, what we found was that not only do the more mature programs have more publishers, which you would expect over time, but the percentage of click and sale active publishers within that base is higher as well. So
Mm-hmm.
you're not just bringing in more publishers to bring in more publishers. You're actually
Right.
bringing in more publishers where the relationship is getting better and better over time. So,
Yeah.
when you're looking at starting at 4 years and going to 15 and being
Mm-hmm.
able to see this, imagine that first 0 to 4, it's probably even a higher ramp up as you're getting these new publishers on and they're starting to get to know your program a little bit. But I think for me, this was one of the charts that says the most about affiliate marketing as partnerships,
Yeah.
to talk about the
Mm-hmm.
difference between this and other channels, because you're probably not going to see a lot of other channels you're advertising in where you just keep getting better and better at it. You're going to
Right.
reach,
Right.
a point of diminishing return with a lot of other
Mm-hmm.
types of
You're
advertising where
right.
you kind
Yeah.
of top out. But with
Mm-hmm.
affiliate marketing, what we're seeing is it literally can just keep getting better and better. The more mature your program becomes, the more your publishers get to know what you do and the relationship that you build with them, it can
Mm-hmm.
end up being more cost effective the longer
Right.
you run the program.
This episode of Revenue Boost, a marketing podcast, is brought to you by Kriglu. Want to boost customer acquisition while saving time and money? Meet Kriglu, an AI-powered omnichannel bid management platform designed to optimize your ad spend. Kriglu intelligently adjusts bids across channels, ensuring your ads reach the right audience at the lowest cost. Plus, with its automation, you'll free up valuable time to focus on your business. The result? Efficient, cost-effective growth, all while maximizing your marketing budget. Ready to scale smarter and faster? Visit Kriglu.com, Kriglo.com, and start saving today. Yeah, no, that's such an important data point because, I've heard brands say we tried it, it didn't work for us, or, it wasn't, as work as well as another channel. But I mean, the point that you made where it doesn't have the diminishing returns and continues to strengthen, unlike other paid media strategies, I think is such a key takeaway. And again, just reiterates the importance of having affiliate in your whole marketing mix. So such an important and really interesting, to your point, data point. And I love the relationships, partnerships aspect of it, because you're spot on. It's just going to grow over time.
Right. And I think it says something about the industry as well over this,
Mm-hmm.
15 years, which the PMA has been around 16 years. So these data points are pretty much,
Yeah.
the length of time we've been in association. And
Mm-hmm.
it shows that, we're continuing to diversify. We're continuing to add new ways for retailers to be able to get sales. So over time, as these programs have grown, it's not just that they're bringing in a whole bunch more cash back or a whole bunch more coupon sites. They're
Right.
bringing in a lot of different types of publishers as well into these programs as they mature.
Yeah, no, it's such a good point. And speaking of publishers and publisher types, I know one of the big or the questions was around cashback and coupons. So talk a bit about what you found as far as the advertiser behavior with those or investment with those partners, I should say.
So this question, it's a little hard. It's kind of comparing apples to oranges in a way from our normal survey where we use the exact same categorizations of publishers and we say, how much money did you spend on this type?
Mm-hmm.
How much money did you spend? And then, we add all of those things together and give these percentages. Because we weren't asking these retailers to give us any actual financial
Mm-hmm.
data on this. Instead, we were just asking, what is the publisher type that is the highest for you? So what is the publisher type that is your highest spend and that is your highest revenue? And what we came out with was that it's almost essentially the same as when we were asking for total numbers of actual financials. And that was cashback, loyalty reward sites, coupon voucher rebate sites still come out way ahead. And when you put those two together, you're still talking about, 60 to 70% of affiliate spend in those two areas. But we were able to break out that there are some retailers, a significant number, around 40% of retailers, who are not putting the majority of their spend into cashback and coupons. They have found other types of publishers, and some of them very specifically, 2 to 3% saying specifically we're spending the most for creators, for
Yeah.
influencers, or
Yeah.
for technology programs. We might be spending 20% on content, getting 10% of our revenue from content and things like that. So, it'd be interesting to know exactly which different retailers fall into those different buckets, but we don't know that. But we can just
Hmm.
assume by looking at this data that there are just certain types of retailers, and certain retailers specifically, that have found a way to be really successful without even doing any cashback or coupons.
Yeah. I mean, and it's such an important data point and takeaway, because there is, um, there's a perception that that is what affiliate, partnerships typically are. And to your point, there's such a broader range of publisher types, and a lot of retailers, if they're finding success and without including these types of publishers, then it's going to be interesting to see kind of how that goes into the future. And so, what do you think about, like, what will this mean for the industry going forward? Do you think advertisers need to continue to diversify, and what's kind of your projection based on the data?
They're absolutely going to continue to diversify, and we're going to have to diversify how we ask these questions,
Yeah.
because even in looking at the responses,
Yeah.
we're having to kind of break things down and say, okay, what do we mean by this? What do we mean by technology? Where do
Hmm.
card linked offers fit in? Where does buy now, pay
Right.
later fit in? We have these different things that are kind of coming under the tent of performance marketing now. So
Yeah.
we're actually
Yeah.
having to kind of diversify how we talk about the different buckets of affiliate
Hmm.
marketing, because there's so many new players coming into the industry that are finding ways to use performance marketing to monetize their business models.
Yeah. No, definitely. And it also shows a maturation of the industry, and that, to your point, more and more publishers entering the space and giving advertisers and consumers more options for finding what they're looking for. No, it's a really interesting data point, and I love that, to your point, the comparison of the brands that are succeeding without them, and then the
Mhm.
brands that are depending on them. So it'll be interesting to see how that changes over the next couple of years as well.
Right.
Yeah. And I know, so the downloadable software publishers is kind of also a dominant category. Talk about what you found in the research there.
So it's considered kind of controversial within affiliate marketing. We've kind of had this ebb and flow over, the
Hmm.
20 years that I've been here, of that toolbars are a bad thing. No, toolbars are okay. Well, toolbars are how customers save money. No, but they steal from other publishers. And so we kind of keep kind of going around and around with this
Yeah.
issue. And we've come back around to, wait, there actually are different types of toolbars that are really good for the customer and that are good for the retailer.
Hmm.
How do we work within that? But it still feels like there's kind of there's a stigma to it.
Yeah.
And a lot of people that, say, oh, I would never work with them. But then in our data, we found that 88% of merchants are actually working with the toolbars and the extensions. So there might be a whole lot of talk out there about
Right.
the reputability of those types of publishers and
Hmm.
whether you should work with them. But the bottom line is, 88% are. And if
Yeah.
88% are, that means just within our ecosystem, we
Hmm.
have to draw some things from this data. We have to talk about best practices for working with these type of publishers, when a
Hmm.
retailer would want to work with them, when they wouldn't, what type they want to work with, and what type they don't. So we
Right.
need to just go from the assumption now retailers want to do this, whether it's
Right.
good for them, good for the customer, it doesn't matter. Retailers are
Hmm.
doing it. So where do we go as next steps to finding out how everybody is most successful, assuming that we're going to have such a high percentage of retailers that are working with them?
Yeah, and it's such a interesting point, as you're saying, that brands might say that it's not something they want to include, and I know incrementality just comes up all the time. Excuse me,
Absolutely.
for when it comes to that, because yeah, I've heard the arguments. Well, we would have gotten that sale anyway. Now we're giving it away. But I think the other key point, both for the coupons and cashback, and the toolbars, I know the research that I was part of last year identified that the consumers are open to trying new brands, or going to a new website, or adding more to their shopping cart. Um,
Absolutely.
so there is value. Yes, maybe you would have gotten that sale anyway, but maybe they would have gone to your competitor, or maybe they wouldn't have added that extra thing to their shopping cart. And it's just there is that. Oh, the other key point was it drives loyalty because they'll continue to shop with you. So there are those kind of softer metrics behind the value of those types of publishers that you can't necessarily measure. And so I agree with the brands that are engaging with those, because you don't want them going to your competitor. And I know
Right.
that's a big strategy with coupons. So anyway, it's really interesting to see the high percentage of advertisers that are leveraging those publisher types. And so the next category is around sub networks. So talk a bit first, if you can kind of explain sub networks, and then kind of talk about what the data found.
So there are kind of a couple of different types of sub networks in affiliate marketing, and they're all categories together, but it's basically where one company is the publisher. And then they're doing something from there with other publishers. So they're kind of a tier in the middle. And, what they're doing then with those publishers below them differs. It could just be that they're running this sub network where, publishers, very small publishers that can't get into the big programs, they're all applying with this sub network, and this sub network has the relationship with the big publishers. So, a lot of times as a small site, you don't have enough traffic to even be able to apply for retailers. You join a sub network and you're able to then get into those programs, and they're kind of doing the heavy lifting there. A lot of it is also in the area of influencer marketing. So you have sub networks that are working with these brands, and then they have their own platform that makes it a lot easier for influencers to use to be able to pull links and to be able to monetize. So an influencer doesn't have to understand affiliate marketing to be making money through affiliate marketing, because they're just working through one of these sub networks that has built some kind of technology tool for them that maybe integrates with their Instagram, or integrates with their other socials that they're doing, and makes it easier for them. So these are just kind of different types, but it's basically where it's almost like a middleman that these sub networks operate. And so there are pros and cons. And we as the PMA have spent a lot of time in the last 18 months talking about what are the pros and cons of working with these sub networks, because we were hearing a lot of cons, a lot of people saying there's not enough transparency there. We don't have control over those sub affiliates and things like that. So again, with like the downloadable software, you start thinking, oh, there must be a lot of retailers who don't feel comfortable working with sub networks. The data shows 96% are working with sub networks. So again, it's not a question really of like, should you do it or not? It's a question of what are the best practices here? It's less about the pros and cons, and it's more about what are the best practices, how you use them for the benefit of those sub affiliates, but also for the benefit of you as a retailer. How many do you work with? Do you just pick one influencer, one this, one that? So it's just a couple that you're managing, or are you basically running your program? And we did find that of the retailers who said that they had 20 or less sale active publishers in the last year, 25% of them are working with sub networks. So it could be that you're a retailer that has a very small program that somebody in-house is managing, and you only have 10 or 15 affiliates in this program. But one of those is an influencer network who's out there working with 2,000 influencers on your behalf. So that's a way to be in the affiliate game as it is, but also not have your in-house person actually managing all of these relationships.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And so do you see breaking out sub networks further in a future report as well?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think taking a look at, instead kind of separating these into like, is it just purely a technology thing versus is it an influencer, the different types of sub networks that are out there? I think that's one of the things that people are going to really want to know. Are they all just working with influencers, or are they all working with these other types as well?
Right. Yeah. And it would be definitely interesting to see that breakout, because to your point, there is such a wide range, and some of them are more individualized, like the influencer programs, and some are just sub publishers kind of going in and joining. So really interesting. And 96% is a high percentage. So definitely, for my own curiosity, I'd love to see, next year we can dig into that a lot more deeply to give those recommendations, and even watch outs for brands as well. Great. So I know there's a lot of key points in there. Any other actionable data points or takeaways that you want to make sure we're sharing today?
I think in terms of the data, it's all then just kind of digging into whatever applies to your particular company. So the report
Right.
itself, it's free to download. You can get in there and actually start looking at the things. Are you on the publisher side? Are you on the retailer side, agency, looking more specifically, because there are some things that are going to apply a lot more to one than to
Mm-hmm.
another.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really just a matter of getting it down there, because I think things that you would find most interesting are different than the things that I find most
Right.
interesting.
Yeah, definitely. And I think too, for brands that are working through an agency partner, it's going to be different than brands that are running it in-house, because it might, open up questions that they can
Right.
either, should we be doing more, or should we be, auditing more and or optimizing more? So it definitely, it sounds like there's a lot of key takeaways. And so lastly, with all of the data that you've found, that you've uncovered, and kind of the key takeaways, like what does this to you say about like the future? What do you think is going to, like, next year will look like for brands?
I think we're going to continue to see more brands taking the chance in affiliate marketing, because
Hmm.
we're able to
Hmm.
show this type of data. So this isn't just anecdotal saying, oh, you really should try affiliate marketing. And it's not biased data of a company that's trying to sell you on affiliate marketing.
Hmm.
It's us as an industry association saying, look, we're not biased. These numbers, we've just collected these numbers and put them together for you.
Right.
So, we're not pushing any particular network. We're not pushing any particular agenda here. We're just saying there's a lot in affiliate marketing, and we're showing that you can do it with cashback and coupons, or you can do it
Hmm.
without cashback and coupons. You can do it
Yeah.
working with an influencer network. You can do it not working with an influencer network. You can be successful no matter how you choose to pursue your programs.
Yeah, definitely. Great. And so, Trisha, share again where everyone can download the full data or report.
So the report is at thepma.org, and you'll be able to just download it for free from our website.
Excellent. Great. Well, thank you so much, Trisha. I'm excited to dive into the details more deeply, and I'll probably have more questions as well. But this has been really great. I really appreciate both your time and effort with the research, and it is so beneficial to, as we said, to the both to brands and agencies and the networks, and the publishers. Something for everyone in there, as you said. So thank you for your time and effort with this, and for joining today.
Okay, thank you so much, and thank you for being a supporter of the PMA.
Excellent. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Revenue Boost, a marketing podcast. For more episodes and to learn how you can boost your revenue, go to revenuebasedmarketing.com. And be sure to subscribe to Revenue Boost, a marketing podcast, so you don't miss more strategies for growing your business.